Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I am here with sort of a 10 cards 1 kit video, but it's a little bit different in that it is a scrapbook kit, not a card kit that I am working with, and that I'm actually going to make 18 cards because sometimes you just get on a roll and you make a whole bunch more cards than you intended to, or at least I do. So anyway, this kit that I'm showing to you is from close to my heart, and it is the Workshops Your Way Beary Christmas Kit. And this video is in collaboration with Kim Ferguson, who is a close to my heart independent consultant, but also has a YouTube channel where she shares some tutorials. She has been a consultant for 5 years and a paper crafter and instructor for 25 years and is also a teacher like me by trade, so her day job is teaching just like mine. And we thought that it would be fun to have a little collaboration, so I'm going to share some things with this kit and she's going to share some stuff with my digital stamps. As I mentioned, this is a scrapbook kit, so you might see some elements you think, not necessarily traditional for card making, like the letters are a little bit big, but I'm going to show you how to make it all work for some cards. And I actually think that it's a really fun and awesome card kit, and I really enjoyed working with it. It was very much my style because of all the cute critters. So it comes with 12 by 12 pattern paper and 12 by 12 cardstock. And I'm going to cut the 12 by 12 cardstock down into some card base sizes. If you had another purpose for 12 by 12 cardstock and you didn't want to chop it into cards, then by all means save it and use some, 8.5 by 11 cardstock to make the card bases. And I decided though to, like I said, chop that down. So I'm going to basically cut it to 8.5 by 11, then cut it in half to make card bases. I'm going to do long card bases, 4.25 by 11. And then I'm going to save the rest of the solid colored cardstock just to use as elements on the card if I need to. What I thought was really fun is this is, like I said, a scrapbooking kit, but it comes with these cut-aparts. They're really large because they're meant for scrapbooking. However, I found that it actually worked really, really well for cards. And the larger size meant that I could design cards around them. So I took these 4x6 cards here that say Merry Christmas. I trimmed off a little bit to make them to the 4 by 5.25 size that I tend to use for cards. And then I still liked how the design looked. They were well suited to it. I think they'd be great, of course, for scrapbooking as well. But then they included these smaller 4x3 cards that had different designs on them. And what's cool is if you flip them over, it just changes the orientation. I think they're meant for like pocket scrapbooking. So if you had, a horizontal photo or a vertical photo, they'd work either way. And basically, I'm just kind of trying to take that into consideration as I cut it down to card size. So those raccoons will be their own card, the Merry Christmas, the Ho Ho Ho, all of those will be acting as background paper for cards for me essentially, which made Christmas crafting with this really easy. I think that a lot of us tend to make a whole bunch of Christmas cards, and whether we're only making them for friends and family, we need a bunch, or there are so many awesome card drives out there that seek to bring some holiday cheer to people. So you can donate to the organizations that you donate to all year long because they are going to need cards. There are also some special card drives. I don't think that the one that I traditionally donate to has started yet, but I'm probably going to just kind of hold on to these. And as card drives come up, I'll have things to donate. I'm also going to cut down some of the pattern paper. What's really cool about working with 12 by 12 pattern paper is you can get like 6 card bases out of one sheet. So if you really like a pattern, you get it in 6 by 6, you're only going to get 1 card out of it, pretty much, maybe 2 if you can use a portion of it. But if you really like it, a 12 by 12 pattern paper is going to be great. And so I kind of just picked my favorites to start with. There's going to be a lot of extra pattern paper in this kit just because it is such a big kit. And I think that it's a pretty good value. It's less than most card kits and you're getting plenty of supplies to make cards. I kind of like that it didn't have a stamp set just because instead of having a stamp set, it had all these elements that I could stick onto a card really quickly and do faster card making. I have plenty of Christmas stamps. I didn't really need more Christmas stamps. What I needed was a way to make some cute, quick, fun cards. So I'm also going to chop up some of the pattern paper that's a little bit more subtle, like this red stripe. There's some bold pattern papers and some more subtle pattern papers, and I'm going to cut that into some smaller pieces as well. I'm going to cut it into some 4x3 pieces and some 3x3 squares and some, I believe, 1.5 inch strips, 1.5 by 6. So that way I have all these little chunks of paper that I can just grab as I go. Some people I know, they kind of feel like, oh, that might be wasteful. What if I don't use all the 3x3 squares? But I find that it makes the whole process go a little bit smoother for me. It helps the process flow. And so if there is 1 or 2 pieces that I don't use, I'm honestly pretty okay with that, because I know that I probably did more crafting because I wasn't scared to cut the paper than if I had saved every piece as precious. I wanted to start with these 2 Merry Christmas backgrounds because I felt like you could make a really quick, easy card with them. And it's like, to me, when I'm going to sit down and make a bunch of cards, sometimes I just kind of like to do warm-up cards, like something really simple just to sort of get the process going. I don't know if you've ever tried that, but I kind of like think of it like working out. When you warm up your muscles, kind of like warming up your creative muscles. And so I decided I would make some easy designs with these. The kit included this glitter washi tape of sorts, and it is a little tricky to peel off the back, but that's kind of a good thing in a way because it means that it's a little more sticky. If it came off the back really easily, it'd probably come off your card really easily, but it does work just fine. And I really love the shimmer. I know that a lot of times when you donate cards to hospitals, they ask for no shimmer, but I know that I will give some of these cards to a drive that donates to nursing homes or retirement communities, and there it might be okay to have glitter, and they can kind of know their patients and pass those around. So I'm kind of going ahead and being okay with using glitter in this instance, but do check if you're going to donate your cards what the requirements are. So here I am using some of the stickers, but also some of the die cuts. So they're pre-die cut images. I don't have to color my own images. Whereas if this was a stamp set, yeah, these foxes would be like a super cute little stamp set, but I'd have to color all the images. And if you're trying to do some quick Christmas crafting, as a lot of us kind of have to, just because there's so much to do around the holidays, then you might not want to color all of your images, or maybe you don't love coloring, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to love coloring to be a crafter. You can do a lot of fun stuff with pattern paper and pre-made die cuts. They also had these enamel dots, and you get 3 packages or 3 little sheets of enamel dots in the glitter, in red, and in green. Enamel dots are something that I also avoid sometimes if I'm donating cards to kids, just because they could possibly be a choking hazard. But again, I'm going to donate these to nursing homes, so I know that it's going to be totally okay. And here, I'm going to create a visual triangle to really emphasize the Merry Christmas by putting enamel dots in 3 places that would form a triangle if you connected them. And that really highlights that sentiment there. Then I am going to pull in one holiday sentiment. Like I said, we all have holiday stamp sets, and Close to My Heart has some adorable stamp sets. So when you're over there looking at these kits, there are fall kits as well if you're more into fall card making right now. As I know it is a little early for Christmas for some people, but I prefer to start early. You can also check out their stamp sets and what kind of sentiments they have. So here's mine that just says, wishing you holiday happiness. I went with a generic holiday versus Christmas, just so that if there's nothing Christmassy about the cards, they could be used for anyone. And I'm going to again emphasize the sentiment by placing the stars around it. And this time I'm just going to place 2 stars around it. And since that pattern paper already includes a little scene, there's a little bit of snow falling on this, I believe it's a raccoon, with his present, I don't have to stamp and color and layer, which is totally fun sometimes. But again, quick card making, lots of cards to spread lots of Christmas cheer. This, I think, would be a great gift. You could make like a set of holiday cards and then even give it ahead of time to somebody who you know would use them, love them, appreciate them, maybe a gift for a teacher. So that they would, have something to give at the holidays, and it would just be one less thing that they have to worry about. And so I think that that would be a fun way because they'd all coordinate without being all the same. And anyway, here I wanted to use that bear image. That's like a 3x4 cut apart card, but I wanted to pair it up with the bear patterned paper. Sometimes it's good to take something that's has a fair amount of pattern, like this bear image, and to pair it with solids. But you can kind of add more pattern by intentionally being very matchy-matchy. And I'm going to talk about this again at the different card that I do, but I can put the bear on the bear pattern paper and it doesn't look as busy because they just go so well together because they both have the same image in it. And that's one way to combine patterns, by finding something similar about them. Now, since the bear has a wreath, I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity to use those red enamel dots. There's little tiny illustrated berries on there, but I emphasize them by putting these red enamel dots on top of them, again in a triangle shape, so that it brings a little bit more attention to the bear. Then I wanted to, now that I have I kind of feel like some warm-up cards done, now I wanted to try to create some more, like a little more unique designs. Because a lot of those cards, you could see that I was creating 2 of them. When I made one Merry Christmas, I just made another that matched. And that's part of the way that I got 18 cards. So even though I probably only have 10 unique designs, I have more than 10 cards. So now I'm going to play with the stickers. Again, because they're stickers, no coloring, no fussy cutting, no die cutting, nothing. I'm just going to be able to peel and stick, and I'm going to get this festive word out to match up here with my Santa bear that's holding the Christmas tree. As you can see, it's pretty large, but so is that holly or that leaf little piece that I put along the bottom. It's closer to about 6 inches long, whereas my card is only 5 1/4. So what I'm choosing to do there is put it all the way on the card and then trim off the edges at the end. I'm not going to actually leave it hanging over the edge, just like I'm going to make that E tuck all the way to the very edge, just so that my bear fits as well. You see that when I put it down the first time, I chose to put it down very, very lightly. I didn't apply a whole bunch of pressure, just because I did want to make sure he worked with the bear. And then once I am sure that I like the way it looks, then I can really stick it down and let that sticker stay, and grab with that adhesive. And I'm going to pair it with that berry. So we'll say Beary Festive, perfect for, of course, the bear, and then add a little adhesive up behind it because that bear isn't a sticker. He is, in fact, one of the pre-made die cuts. And if you didn't like the way the tree is sort of poking over your F, you could instead choose to make the sticker on top of the bear, and that might make it a little bit more readable, but I thought that it worked out. And of course, I'm going to use my handy dandy ATG gun to have some really strong adhesive to stick these to the card. And then I am ready to move on to another unique card, and I was thinking, I used the festive, let's move on and use the jolly sticker. So again, just going to be able to peel it off, let it sort of be the star of the show, kind of like the way that festive was. You might think, oh, the scale of that festive is almost the size of a card, it's too big because it's a scrapbooking kit, but they really do fit well on cards, and there's something to be said for having that really large sentiment. It really becomes a focal point, and you don't have to add a bunch of layers or details. A lot of times your sentiment is just a little afterthought on your card, or just a little embellishment, but here it really is going to become the star of the show, and I'm going to pair it up with some fun stickers, taking that little raccoon with his little mess of Christmas lights, and I'm going to just put Jolly Holiday. These aren't necessarily maybe your most traditional sentiments because it doesn't say like have a Merry Christmas, but instead it's just sort of like a fun Christmassy type saying. But I'm okay with that. I think that you're going to put your sentiment on the inside anyway, or your message on the inside anyway, so it doesn't necessarily need to say Merry Christmas on the outside, because of course you're gonna say Merry Christmas on the inside, or Happy Holidays on the outside. So again, putting that onto a card base and ready to move on to another card. I admit that I was a little bit intimidated by how I was going to use that ho 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 paper there. It was one of the cut aparts and I had trimmed it down. So the ho 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 was sort of cut off on two sides. But I'm going to go back to that principle that I talked about before, when sometimes if you have two busy things, if they have something in common, you can make them work together and it doesn't look as mismatched or doesn't look as busy, because these are both plain pieces of paper with text. Since they both have text in the very similar font and size, I think that it works really well together because it just looks like, a themed typography card. And instead of looking really, really busy, it instead looks just really, really matchy. And that can work out. But I'm going to emphasize it with a few of the stars because they are the little chipboard pieces that are included in the kit, and they're solid white, so it'll bring out the white of the letters on both of them. There was this really beautiful, large Merry Christmas glitter sentiment. And it was one of the coolest things about the kit, but I knew that if I glued it down to a card base, it would really take up a whole standard A2 size card. Now, of course, I'm sure some of you have been thinking, Jess, you could just make bigger cards. Like, you don't have to make A2 size cards. You can make 5x7 cards. 5x7 cards take just a single stamp as well. You don't need more postage for them, for example. But I kind of like to stick to A2. It's just easier to make them all the same size. It's part of my process. I just sort of know, okay, I can get 6 pieces of A2 size card or pattern paper out of one 12x12. I just kind of like think in A2 just because I do it so much. So I'm sticking to A2 and it's working for me. The Christmas is almost exactly the same size as the card. Then I'll offset the Merry, and that will create a little bit of blank space in the corner, but that's fine because it was perfect for these other glitter die cut pieces. Not only is there the glitter die cut Merry Christmas, but there are these glitter chipboard die cut, star shapes and sort of burst shapes is the way that I would describe it. But I wanted to use these leaves because they were a nice large element, and I'm just going to let this glitter chipboard be the star of the show and let those leaf sort of branches fill in the area that the Merry doesn't. It'll be then perfectly balanced, and I put it on a piece of pattern paper that had a pretty subtle pattern just because I knew that the Merry Christmas itself was going to be so bold. I am returning to some of the cut aparts. Now that I've made some unique cards, I'm kind of like taking sort of a mental break in doing some of the easy cards again by using some of these cut apart pieces. I know that I can stamp a sentiment onto these 3x4 cards and then make a pretty easy card because I don't have to create a focal point. This is my focal point. Again, I don't have to stamp and color and all that, so these kits are great. And I'm stamping the same sentiment that I used before. Another good tip for mass producing: pick one sentiment that you think works really well and then use it for a couple of cards in a row. If you have to go and pick a new sentiment of a different size every time from a new set, it's going to take longer. And here, because my little reindeer image is going to be my focal point, I'm thinking of pairing him with something kind of bold in the background, just because he has a lot of white space behind him. So he can sort of handle something bold because there is a place for your eye to rest in that white space around him. But I did find that because the pattern paper had a lot of white to it, he sort of just looked like he faded in, and I wanted to put a little pop of red behind him just to emphasize him a bit. So that's my sort of thinking there. But it's a 3x4 piece, so it's not like a mat. And if I hadn't already cut my red cardstock down, I probably could have made a mat instead. So maybe you don't want to cut your cardstock down, but it was fine by me because I just staggered it and created a sort of frame on two sides only. And that was, again, that just worked for me personally, but you might prefer not to trim everything down ahead of time. Then I'm going to lay down that sticker and I'm going to lay it all the way across turn the card base over or the panel over and trim off the edges. Because I was given so many fun little embellishments in this kit, I decided to just use them. I think sometimes we think, oh, I might run out before I'm done using the kit, and so we don't use them, and then we're out of pattern paper and we still have a bunch of embellishments left, which is fine because you could totally use them on other things too. However, they're meant to coordinate together. Just go for it. Just use them. I mean, I think most of us have more of a problem of having too much stuff than not enough. And of course, there are people who are still building their collections and they might not have enough stuff. But I just think that usually we wind up with more Christmas stuff than we really need because it's really fun and cute to work with. So go ahead and use it. And use it right away, especially when you're buying kits like this. It coordinates. You don't even have to think about it. It's just gonna match. And whereas if you save it and you kind of like, oh, it's too special, then you're gonna try to use it with something that maybe it doesn't match as well with. So here I'm going to use that fox sticker. It was probably one of my favorite images. And so maybe that's why it took me a little bit longer to use it, because I did want to make a really cute card with it. But I'm going to, again, pull out one of those glittered chipboard pieces. It kind of looks like a string of Christmas lights. And I'm going to glue it down over it. I'm going to let them sort of ground the foxes by being on the bottom. Something that I love to do is to test out a bunch of pattern papers as backgrounds. So that's why it's nice to have them pre-cut to a card base size, to that 4 by 5 1/4 that leaves a little bit of room around your card base. Then I can just sort of switch them out. And if you didn't notice, well, I'm sure you did, these pattern papers are double-sided. Double-sided pattern paper is a personal favorite of mine. I like it because you can just flip it over and try the other side. And usually it coordinates, but maybe it's a little less busy, and that works out for you. So, some people they're like, oh, well, I don't like it because then I might not get to use the side I like. But when you're making cards and you're getting 6 card bases out of it, you can make 3 one way and 3 the other. So, I don't know. I personally am a fan. Then I'm going to use this Happy Holidays, this snowfall and Christmas tree background here. It's another 3 by 4 card, and I'm going to keep it really simple this time. I'm going to use a soft blue pattern paper to go with the soft blue sky of this falling snow. But to complete the scene, since there's a few Christmas trees there in the corner, I thought, why not add a few Christmas presents? So I took that long sticker border piece and I cut it down to be 2 groupings of presents by just sort of trimming carefully around the presents. And I kind of had to lose one present and cut it off and make a little bit of a waste there. But again, it's like one present of the whole long row. And I've used the whole long row instead of hoarding my sticker pack as I have done in the past. And then I have 2 cards that are exactly the same, but you're going to send them to 2 different recipients. Or if you like to send everybody in your family individual cards, then maybe save one for your family and put the other in a place to donate or give it to a friend or coworker so that, no one realizes, oh, hey, I got kind of the same card as somebody else. And then knows that sometimes when your family knows that you make cards, they really like those special cards. And however, we don't always have time to make everybody that super fancy card. I'm going to, again, thinking about adding some stars, not quite sure because they're kind of fading to the background, but I decide that that kind of works. It just sort of emphasizes the snow look. I still put it in that visual triangle around the sentiment to bring some attention to it. And then I kind of remember hey, I'm not using that super awesome glitter washi that this kit came with, so I'm going to try to pull it back in, and I'm going to basically create just a little strip in the corner there. I think that you could have left that off and this would still be a great card, but because I'm trying to make sure that I, actually show you all the different cool pieces of this kit, I wanted to pull it back in and remind you that you get that fun embellishment to work with as well. At this point, I am running a little lower on some of the stickers and cardstock pieces and stuff, but like I said, that's very intentional. I'm okay with the fact that I'm just going to have pattern paper left because I could go ahead and pull out a great stamp set and make a whole bunch more cards. But while I still have these papers, I want to make sure that I use up all these coordinating pieces with the coordinating pattern paper. So I'm intentionally making that choice here. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment again, remembering just to use the same stamp set. Don't overthink it. Use one sentiment and craft a bunch at the same time. Even though, yeah, I'm using the Christmas tree sticker on one and the deer on the other, I'm still making a pretty similar card, and I'm getting to use up 2 parts of the kit. You can do this with your stamps too. You can come up with one design and then a bunch of different critters from different stamp sets to go in the same place. Like, pull a raccoon from one company or one stamp set and, a deer from another, and just sort of mix it up but use the same design so you don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel each time. I'm going to layer that, I layered that 3x3 red square onto that 3x4 journaling card, added my sentiment and the sort of focal image. Then I'm going to add more enamel dots again because I have them. May as well go for it while I'm thinking of it before I put it away in the box of Christmas stuff and never look at it again. Let's just, go for it and enjoy. So here I'm going to put just a few around the sentiment to bring some attention to my focal image. And then on the Christmas tree, I thought that it would be kind of fun to make them look like the little decorations on the tree. And I tried it, but the decorations on the tree are quite a bit smaller than the enamel dot, so then I instead just went back to my visual triangle technique. So I now have 18 cards with this fabulous kit from Close to My Heart. Remember that this is a collaboration with Kim Ferguson, and so you can go to the video description, find not only her website so you can pick up this awesome kit or one of the other great kits that they have for the holiday season, but you can go check out her channel and get lots more inspiration. Check out her video with my digital stamps, go check out her blog, etc., etc. Really awesome stuff there. And make her your Close to My Heart consultant and have fun with these sort of less traditional kits. But as you can see, this kit is jam-packed. I made 18 cards and I have a ton of stuff left. Yeah, it's mostly pattern paper, but that was intentional on my part. You could certainly make, probably like at least 20 more cards with this kit. And it came already in Ziploc bags, which sounds like what's a big deal, but it's just so much easier to store. I love storing things in Ziploc bags because it's more durable and protects all my stuff. Anyway, that is it for my card tutorial, my sort of 10 cards, but really 18 cards, 1 kit tutorial with this Close to My Heart Beary Christmas kit. All links are in the video description. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you are new. I do a lot of these big, bunch of cards in one videos and some, simpler one-off tutorials. Also, as I said, be sure to hop on over to Kim's channel, check out what she is doing, and I will leave you with some videos at the end that you might want to check out as well. Thank you and have an awesome day. Bye.